Hey everybody, welcome! This is the 300th episode of Ask, and every 100 episodes or so, I led Steve to join me from behind the camera, where he's, what does Bob call you? Crackhead producer?
Crack producer.
You produce crack.
Apparently. According to him. And his wife told him to stop saying that, so.
He's from the old generation, you know? Crack meant something different in the 40s.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully he doesn't watch this. So before we get to the great introduction and talk about some episodes of Ask and kind of where we're going in the future and answer some questions, we're going to let Steve say welcome to Ask because he's always telling me that I don't pronounce the k, and he doesn't like that. So go ahead, Steve, take it away.
Welcome to Ask.
Okay, so this is our 300th episode. Kind of goes with our 100th episode. I keep saying 300th, Steve. I don't know why I keep saying that, but
Yep.
And there's a few questions that I know people are wondering about, kind of the way this show has gone or how it's been. Maybe some people have joined us last year or so and don't realize, man, we've been doing this for how many years now?
6
years.
6 years.
So one of the questions that we've gotten is, what was the inspiration for this show, since it's been 6 years in running? And I kind of felt like, and you can pitch them, but I feel like two things. One, there's a lot of churches and ministries that do something similar. I think Matt Chandler's church, Village Church, was doing something called Ask Matt or Ask the Pastor or something like that.
Yeah,
and I thought it was cool. And secondly, we had just hired you, right? Or
It had been almost a year.
about a year. We had hired
Yeah.
you part-time as a media director, and we were like, well, we got to give Steve something to do, and that'd be kind of a cool thing to do online.
Yeah.
You remember anything else as to why we started this?
Other than that being the case, no, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, we were just like, hey, people could ask questions and I'll answer them.
Yeah.
And in the early days, we had to kind of fill in the blanks. So some of the questions you got on Ask were ones that I put myself because we didn't get enough.
Yeah. We didn't get any for a while.
Yeah, for a while you'd get like no questions at all, and I don't know if people were watching, but I don't know if they were just afraid to. But at some point it picked up, and now almost every question you see is one put through the website, or sometimes I'll sprinkle in something someone has asked me in person
Yeah.
or via email, because I'm like, oh, that's actually a good question for Ask.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, the vast majority, I think, come from the website now. People submitting questions
yeah.
on a regular basis, and we have a good amount of questions.
I still think my questions are better, but
I mean, some of them were, but not all.
some. So one of the things that people want to know is, what are some of the most challenging questions that we get to answer, to kind of deal with, and especially repetitively, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think of some of the topics and questions that will come in at least every couple times a year or so, and are not necessarily difficult, but just it could be sensitive, right? Like,
Yeah.
we've gotten, it used to be, it's definitely slowed down. I don't know if you would agree, the questions on Calvinism. And
Yeah, I feel like we don't really get those a whole lot anymore.
yeah. And I don't know
It's been a while.
why that was the case, but for a while we were getting questions about Reformed theology, and especially whether or not did Jesus die for everyone, those types of hard
Yeah.
questions, to the point where we actually filmed a 3-parter with Darren.
Yes. I've never wanted to fall asleep during an Ask filming, but
That one
came close.
Pretty theological driven episode, and we did it, and I would admit it was probably tedious for most people, but from then on, if anyone asked, we could just send them to that.
Yeah,
Just say,
exactly.
"Here, watch this."
Yeah, even to this day, I mean, the content, the dialogue that you guys had definitely holds up.
Yeah. And one of the challenges, whether it's that or other questions that we have with this, like questions like that are so in depth, right? I mean, there's textbooks written that are this long on the subject, and the idea of Ask really is to be fairly succinct, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why we kind of did that. We're like, look, it's really hard for me to answer this over and over again in like a 2-minute answer to try to get people right, because it is a kind of a passionate, if you're gonna look at theological debates, I mean, whole denominations have split over the issue.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a big one. I would say another challenging one that's popped up in the last couple of years is, should I go to a gay wedding?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's always a tricky topic, you know.
Yeah.
You have to be careful answering those ones, but
I think I've been fairly consistent in,
Yeah.
because I've answered it a few different times, and I think I've, I didn't look at the ones that I answered it before. I figured, well, just answer it fresh, right? Because sometimes how you approach it will depend on the sort of, I don't know, the context.
yeah.
And so that's just tricky because, again, I think it's one of the challenges of Ask Questions is that you don't always know who's asking it or the context, and you don't always know, and so you're trying to be specific, but you have to keep it vague enough because everyone's in different kind of places,
Right.
and you're certainly not looking to offend someone or hurt somebody, right? And you're trying to give them this biblical truth as much as you can.
Yeah.
And that can be really challenging when you're not just sitting face to face and someone says to me, Jamie, here's my situation. This is who's getting married, and this is the dynamics involved. I feel like I can answer that more pointedly, but Ask, it's like you got anybody could be listening to it,
Yeah.
right? So that one's kind of been coming up. Any questions you can think of that are sensitive or you think are?
Not recently, other than, that one.
Yeah. We used to get the tattoos one a lot, but
Yeah.
not as much lately. Should I get a tattoo? Any questions on sex? I think that I don't mind talking about sex. It doesn't embarrass me or anything, but again, because the context, it can be so. One person could be watching from the perspective of sex is something that they think is really great, want to be celebrated. Someone else is really, really hard, right?
Yeah.
They've been either molested or they've been hurt in some way, and like to be sensitive to all of those situations, not really knowing who's on the other side of that camera.
Yeah.
It makes it challenging. I think it's still worth doing. They're always well watched.
Oh yeah, they're probably our most
Sex sells,
episodes,
right?
Minus a couple.
Yeah, that's true. So I'd say those are probably the most challenging ones. Another question we got is some of your favorite guests. That's a hard question to answer because what if I leave someone out?
That's fine.
What are some of your favorite guests? You better say your dad. We had him on once or twice.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy the episodes with my dad, but he was also talking about apologetics, which
Right.
is something that interests me a lot.
Yeah,
Obviously.
that's true. Yeah.
Growing up with my dad, it was always there. So, but yeah, so obviously him on there. I do genuinely like when Tim Freitas comes on.
Tim, yep.
Tim
Yeah,
is a good
Tim
guy.
teaches over at WCS. Some of you, those have been really well viewed. Tim does a good job because he hits it hard, and that makes people like to see that, right? They don't want to see a lot of dancing around the topic. Just get to it, talk about it. Plus, we've dealt with some really sensitive issues, suicide with him, and so I would agree he did a really good job. I really loved. We've played it a couple of times, and it's been a few years that we filmed this when Lauren Bundy was on. She's our children's director, but we actually had her on to talk about miscarriage.
Yeah.
And some of the stigmas around that, because in our culture, because abortion is supposed to be so okay, it's really hard. I'm talking secular culture, of course. It's really hard to then say, oh, miscarriage is something that should be hard for you.
Yeah.
But we know the opposite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's almost taboo to talk about it in grief as much as you talk about a child that you've lost, and it's the same thing. And so we really talked with Lauren about that, and I think people. A lot of people watched that.
Yeah.
We didn't even boost that, and it was like, definitely had one of our, a couple thousand views.
Yeah, something like that.
Which for us is a lot,
Yeah.
I look at Ask as a local show. If something blows up and 1 million people view it, then God does that, fine. But that's not our intent behind it. We're a local church. We're dealing with a local congregation in a community, and so that's who I'm really trying to speak to. And so, you don't get 1 million views typically, right? But that one really, that was a sensitive topic, and that just goes to show people want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Some other guests. We had the Halloween special with Mike Bundy. That was
part Halloween special. Yeah. That one was fun. That one was
yeah. We had Darren on a bunch of times, including the time he fell asleep. We've had some
almost fell asleep. I didn't actually fall asleep.
Some good episodes
Clear about that.
Yeah. So we had Placido on a few times. We had how can I miss my wife? She was on.
Yeah.
during COVID. We've had her on a couple times, but
Yeah.
and that one was a pretty well watched, viewed one. The one where we talked about being a pastor's wife.
Yeah.
Right. People were interested. In
Definitely interested in her take on not only being a pastor's wife, but being your wife.
How could she possibly do it? Yeah. Also, what are some of the tough parts about doing Ask? What about you? You have to do all the technical stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, definitely setting up the camera with you jumping all over the place. That's probably the most challenging part for me.
And
and then just
the lighting's
got
to be right. The lighting's got to be right.
Hey, you want it to look good, right? I mean,
if anyone's ever filmed anything for Steve, it's like looking at two blazing suns in your eyes the whole time. But
it's not that bad. I mean, I'm looking at them right now, and they're fine. No, I think sometimes trying to add in stuff into the episodes and make them, a little bit better. It's not always easy, and there isn't always a spot for it. But I like to throw in little funny things here and there if I can.
Yeah, I mean, for me, some of the tough parts of Ask Now, doing it 6 years, you said?
Yeah, I think something like that. I've been working here
300
for
episodes, and it's not every single week. We've had some weeks off, but we try to do it every week. I think keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
You get a lot of the same questions. Feels same sometimes, and so I can sometimes go. Oh. I think what has helped over the couple of years more recently is batching the episodes. So what we do is we'll film anywhere from 3 to sometimes 6 or 7 or 8 at once. So I prepare all of those. That becomes a bigger task because I'm preparing all those questions. But then boom, I just get in the zone and try to really focus on that. Rather than when we were doing it once a week and then putting it out every week, I would just be like, I don't have time for this right now. And I feel like the quality might have suffered because of that. But I think just keeping it fresh, keeping it succinct. We want to, and maybe that's something that people can weigh in on. We've talked about just doing like one question at a time because people's attention spans can't
not great.
Can't go past 3 minutes on anything. So so if we did one question, the problem I've run into on that is that we get more. That it would be very hard for me to keep asking a question. It would probably be months before you heard it answered. I think we could do more than one a week. So instead of putting on the whole episode, you could get 2 or 3 chopped up. We could do that too. You're still editing about the same amount. I don't know. You could.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit more. You'd obviously have to do intros for all 3.
Right.
But that's something we could definitely figure out.
Yeah. So I don't know. You tell us.
That,
but yeah, keeping it succinct, meaning like, sometimes someone will ask me a topic, and I'll actually tell Pastor Bob, who does Wisdom 828, because his is meant to be topical, one topic for and he just kind of teases that out, and I'm like, this is a little bit better for Wisdom 828 than it is for Ask. Ask is kind of like, what's your question? Try to answer it in a couple of minutes. But me and succinctness is not.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support. Really,
hey, I'm just being honest, right?
Yeah. And I think also questions that just aren't the best, and we won't give any examples. I don't want to hurt any feelings, but sometimes I get a question, I'm like, you're the only person who cares about this.
Yeah. Or you could just Google it.
Yeah, or you could Google it, which is what I did. No. And there's times, but again, because if we were a national show, you wouldn't answer every question, right? You'd probably do 1 or 2, and the best ones you find, ask Pastor John, like Piper, right? That's what he does.
Tons.
Yes, but again, because it's a local show, I kind of want to answer everything. So I usually do. There's been a few where I'm like, nah, I'm not answering that. So that's definitely one of the challenges. I don't know. Anything else you can think of?
Challenge-wise, not specifically.
Sometimes location.
Yeah, the location can.
We've been in this room now that the Commons looks really good that we just renovated, but we've gone from downstairs using a TV,
the carpet wall in the gym,
the carpet wall upstairs, the green screen, the black screen, any other screen, and then of course with the green screen, I'd always arrive on Ask Day with a green shirt on, which you can't do because then all you see is my head, right?
Yep, exactly. So, no, we filmed in the worship center plenty of times.
For some reason, we film almost all the time on days where I'm going to get my hair cut.
Hey, I don't
afterwards.
plan it. You're the one who, says I got these many episodes, and then it falls on the date that you're getting your haircut. So
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's a challenge. That's
Yeah.
all. What about lastly, future things? I don't know what kinds of things were.
yeah.
I would like to freshen things up again, and we haven't had guests on in a while.
Yeah.
Bring some people back. Again, maybe making it shorter but more episodes or something like that. I don't know. What other ideas do we got? Anything you got?
Not specifically other than what you said already, bringing people back and,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about the idea of cutting it into
Yeah.
multiple episodes a week quite a few times. So, other than that, maybe a new intro at some point. Get rid of the thunder and lightning. Yeah.
We've also been talking about potentially doing a podcast of some kind, because sometimes the challenge with Ask is, again, we're trying to do it real quick.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of nice to have more of a roundtable discussion with a few people and do more of a podcast format. So let us know if that's something nobody says they care. Maybe nobody cares. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So we only want to do things if people actually care about them. So,
Yeah.
But hey, we're going to keep going. I don't know if we'll make it to 400, but
It's possible.
if the Lord comes back first, hopefully, come Lord Jesus.
Seriously.
But hey, make sure you thank Steve. If you liked it, Ask. He's the one that does all the work. I just kind of jump on and answer some questions.
Yeah.
And the rest is in his. So we'll see you in about 100 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Back
something
on
like
camera.
that. Yeah.
The crackhead
We'll see.
Steve.
Maybe I
Back.
won't.
Yeah.
I'll make somebody else come on next time.
Maybe have Patrick. He's behind the camera today.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, thanks a lot for being such devoted, loyal followers and watchers of Ask. Hey, next week we'll have episode 301, so keep those questions coming. Remember, CornerstoneBV.org, media page drop down. You know what to do from there. God bless. Talk soon. All right. Hey there, welcome to Jurassic Park. Where?
Jurassic?
Ask.
Oh.
Jurassic. This time on Ask. That was stupid. What did I just say? This time on Ask? So that's what we're going to answer this week on Ask.
You almost did it again.
That's good enough. Your questions are questions other people have, and so we're very... What the heck was that? We'll get to those on this episode of Ask. Sorry.
I'm leaving that in there.
All right.
Oh, hang on before you start.
So in Leviticus, my Bible's falling apart. And it will sweep through them. Stop right there. Episkai. I screwed that up completely. Don't forget. You have to stop that. Secondly, you have to stop there too. I just confused myself. Who rules? Who is? I thought you unplugged that. This is a complete disaster. There's really two questions there. A, will we be conscious of it? Come on, Steve, turn your phone off.
I think it's worth taking a minute while we're here, is that you have that, I am just like, my brain is just melting as we speak.
All right, ready? I'm not helping, am I?
Alright, whatever you're... I'm gonna leave that in there.
What other bird calls you want?
Turkey.
I don't know where they go. Gobble, gobble, gobble.